What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. So the official Lions team has been announced. So what I thought we'd do today is go back to a prediction video that I did where I basically went through and predicted the team I thought Gatland was going to pick. I think it's going to be very wrong is going to be my answer. There were a lot of surprises. I've had some time to digest it. They did do the official announcement sort of last week time. I did a sort of immediate reaction video to what was going on with that. There are a lot of big surprise calls in there, so I thought it'd be fun today. Just compare the prediction list to what the official list actually was and sort of go through why we think some picks have been picked, because there were certainly some surprises in there. I've seen a couple of articles talking about players that have been missed off. A couple of people were quite surprised about some key players being missed out. Some people have already started coming with theories as to why some people were picked and some people weren't. I did watch a Squid's Rugby video the other day talking about his view on the Lions team, and he's got some pretty interesting thoughts. I have actually met Squid on a night out once. Really nice guy, knows an awful lot about rugby, far more than me, because I doubt I've got an awful lot of this team correct. So let's start off. I'll put them up here for you guys somewhere so you can see the team as we're going through. So let's start off with the loose head. So I predicted that it was going to be Wyn Jones, Mako Vunipola and Cian Healy. I thought they had something to bring to the table. Some of the props were where I found the difficulty. That final third prop was going to be the main issue. I thought Cian Healy made me just down to experience, number of caps. He played well for the Ireland team. I thought maybe he would get in. I got 2 out of the 3 correct there. They went for Rory Sutherland. Not a bad pick at all. He had a good tournament through the Six Nations. There were no real negatives to say against Rory Sutherland, and he certainly had to step up after, of course, Zander Fagerson got red carded. They lost that main man in the front row, so Rory Sutherland had to step up in his loose head position to try and compensate for losing the tight head. And he actually had a really good tournament. So you know what? I'm perfectly fine with that one going wrong. So there's nothing we could do about that, but I think that's actually not a bad pick in all honesty. I think Cian Healy, Rory Sutherland, I think they may have gone down the correct choice there, even beyond my prediction. Moving on to the hookers. So I went for Ken Owens, George Turner and Luke Cowan-Dickie. So we got 2 out of the 3 right again here. They went for Jamie George over George Turner, and that was an interesting call to me. I'm not 100% sure I agree with that one. A lot of the team setup that seems to come out from this Lions tour is there's a lot of aggressive players in here, attack, running line, power, aggressive players, and in all honesty, I don't think Jamie George for me hits that mould particularly well. At club level he plays very well. He didn't have the best Six Nations that I thought he was going to. I thought George Turner would actually maybe fit the setup he would have better. Being, a very aggressive, big ball carrier, ball in hand. You'd want a hooker that'd be able to go well. The Scotland line-out worked for the majority of the Six Nations. The only game that really stands out to me from immediate memory was the Ireland game where they lost a lot of line-outs there. Ireland worked very hard. But they've gone for Jamie George. Big surprise there. Not 100% sure if I agree with that decision, but that's why Gatland is a world-class coach, and I am not. Going on to the tight heads, I went for Tadhg Furlong, Tom Francis, and Kyle Sinclair. Only 1 out of the 3 correct here, and it's the one most of us would have been Tadhg Furlong. This was a position I struggled with to do some prediction with. I really didn't know who would follow Tadhg Furlong. He's clearly the first choice. I did think Kyle Sinclair was going to go in there. They went for Andrew Porter and Zander Fagerson over the 2 choices. Tom Francis was my sort of last choice tight head that I added in because I just sort of needed someone else to fill that. I think you need 3 to go on the tour, really. I can see maybe picking someone over Tom Francis, and Andrew Porter played very well in the Autumn Nations Cup. He was my tight head of the tournament, was Andrew Porter, so I can see that going well. Again, Six Nations, not the best for him. And I thought maybe his form was running out a little bit. Maybe they're looking, of course, beyond just the last sort of 5 games you have in that Six Nations for that Ireland team. And Tadhg Furlong was showing up in that position a lot. Maybe they want interchangeable tight heads, both from Ireland. They can sort of help train each other, get a bit of competition going. So I can maybe see that going. Zander Fagerson over Kyle Sinclair was a real big call to me. I think Zander Fagerson is very good, and in all honesty, I nearly added him in instead of Tom Francis when I did my original prediction. And the only reason I didn't put him in was just because of the amount of game time at international level. Of course, he had that game against Wales and went out with the red card, missed most of the Six Nations, then had a phenomenal game against France. And I thought maybe that would bring him back. At club level, he's still very good at club level. So maybe that's why they've gone for him. They get to see time at club level rather than international. I would have personally probably liked to have seen him a little bit more international. He certainly stepped up in the France game to maybe warrant that position change. So maybe I can see that going. But I am surprised Kyle Sinclair didn't get in there. A lot of people sort of agreeing with that one. I think they're very similar both in terms of scrummaging and aggression with ball in hand. Again, Sander Fagerson's defensive work was also really good. Maybe that's a big call. I think they might have been very close. I think that might have been a bit of a 50-50 call maybe in the choice room. I'm not sure. the team official choosing room. I don't know what they would call it. But I think they may have been close. But they went for Sander Fagerson. So only 1 out of 3 in the tight head. Moving on to the locks. I went for Alan Wynne-Jones, Ian Henderson, James Ryan, who was the big call that hasn't come in, Johnny Gray and MARO ITOJE. We got 3 out of the 5 correct here. And some real big calls again here. James Ryan not being able to get into that team, I think, surprised a lot of people. Very good in the Six Nations, topping stats charts for a lot of things. Is potentially a bit injury prone. Certainly see him gone off quite a few times with head injuries or maybe a knee injury. I think I've seen him before with. So can pick up injuries along the way. Maybe want someone who's going to go in there. But the replacement of him, you know, maybe for Courtney Laws. Not 100% sure about that one. Johnny Hill wasn't terrible in the Six Nations, but obviously Gatland wants to have a very aggressive side. Johnny Gray is a very just good sort of one-off, single-phase ball carrier that I like to see. But Johnny Hill and Courtney Laws, especially if you look at club level, maybe over international, maybe I base it a little bit too much off the international stage. Maybe that's where we differ between me and Warren Gatland. He obviously can look at a lot more depth. So maybe the club levels where that shifts up a little bit. If you go and look at some highlight reels for, well, both Johnny Hill and Courtney Laws, really, you will see an awful lot of ball in hand running, actually being able to get round players, tackle breaks going on. Maybe that's not what you get to see so much from Johnny Gray. Although I did think he did very well in the lineouts. And then James Ryan. James Ryan was the big call for me here. I really thought he would go. I think I would maybe even take... I would maybe take Courtney Laws and James Ryan and maybe leave Johnny Hill out. I think Johnny Hill still needs to work on a few areas of his game. But that's where we've gone. Only 3 out of the 5 in the locks department. Moving on to the back row. A lot of names here. So I went for Faletau, Tipuric, Navidi. I thought it would be the 3 going from Wales. Hamish Watson, Tyg Byrne, Tom Curry and Matt Fagerson if CJ Stander wasn't allowed to go. I didn't really know the ins and outs of him being allowed to go with his retirement thing called out. So what did I get here? I got 5 out of the 7 correct. With, again, a couple of big calls here. People weren't expecting it. Navidi is one of the big talked about names. People were surprised not going on the tournament. Sort of been replaced. I know we don't know who replaced who exactly. But so let's say Jack Conan got picked over Navidi there. A big call. He went for a lot more sort of number 8 preferences than I thought he was going to. Obviously, no one really expected Sam Simmons to be going. Well, it's a lie. A lot of people expected Sam Simmons to go. I didn't expect Sam Simmons to be going. I thought he'd be basing a lot more off the international stage at the Six Nations rather than club level. Sam Simmons, of course, is phenomenal in club level as a Wales supporter. I'm very happy Eddie Jones doesn't like picking him because I'd be very scared as soon as he gets on that pitch. But Jack Conan was a real big call who I really just didn't expect. And for the mould of the team that they seem to have designed in terms of aggression, ball carrying, the ability for players to move into sort of different positions, not as in swapping positions, but just spreading out wide. Number 8s that can go on the wing like we see with Faletau. Jack Conan likes going on the wing as well. Whereas Navidi tends to like staying on the inside. He's a bit of a jackler. He's got a strong defence and the turnover rate is good. Maybe they're expecting against South Africa to not be able to turn over the ball. South Africa are great in that breakdown area. Maybe they're expecting they won't have the opportunity too much to actually jackal the ball, therefore to make the most when you have the ball in hand and actually try and score points is more of a precedent over having big groundwork players. The Sam Simmons over Matt Fagerson, I think it's probably a fair call. I got a little bit lost in my predictions of where to go with that final back rower. CJ Stander, of course, was probably the main choice a lot of people would have gone for, and I didn't expand my view out to just sort of club level who weren't really involved too heavily with the Six Nations. So couldn't predict that one coming too much. So, you know what, 5 out of the 7, I will take that. Very glad to see Tyg Byrne and Hamish Watson in there, though. A lot of people didn't expect to see Hamish Watson. Very glad he managed to get in the team. On to scrum half. Conor Murray, Thomas Williams and Ben Youngs was my call. Ben Youngs, of course, went out for family reasons before this team came out, but after I posted the video, there was also George North later on. There's nothing we could predict. Also, I predicted 36 men, not 37, as Gatland announced on the day, just to screw up my prediction. It would have been perfect otherwise, obviously. So I got only 1 out of the 3 correct here. With Ben Youngs out, I would have said, as I sort of said in that video, I think Ali Price could have got in, but I would have picked Ben Youngs over Ali Price just based on the box kicking and the ability to pick up the ball and run. Ali Price tends to just be a very set scrum half. Kind of reminds me of Conor Murray actually a little bit now that I think about it. Ali Price. Ben Youngs is willing to run with the ball a little bit more. So with Ben Youngs out, I probably would have moved Ali Price in there, but that could be a bit of a cop-out. The big one here, Gareth Davies over Thomas Williams. I think I still disagree with that one. I know he's got more experience. He's a higher rated player. We know how good Gareth Davies is when he gets working properly and he's in good form. Interceptions are his speciality. The interception run down the line, get a sneaky try in, some little box kicks through some grubber kicks. So when they work well. To me, Gareth Davies not in the best form, especially through that Six Nations. I got very scared for Gareth Davies in whether he would maybe not keep his international jersey, but certainly be looking to move down. Kieran Hardy played very well. Thomas Williams, again, not having the best Six Nations, but is a good player at the minute. I'm not sure if I agree with that one, and I'm not really sure on where they were going to go with scrum halves. The mould they're trying to create, I think a lot of people are still confused about the scrum half situation. It could go any way. I thought they've gone for experience, just to have, they know that one position can't be too loose. They just want guys with a lot of caps and a lot of experience on the pitch, especially at an international level. Maybe that's why they've gone with Gareth Davies. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I think I might have still gone for either Thomas Williams or Kieran Hardy, but there we go. Only 1 out of 3 correct there. The fly halves, some big calls here as well. No Johnny Sexton, which I picked, and Dan Biggar is going, who I think a lot of people expected. Finn Russell will come in to replace Johnny Sexton in my choice compared to their choice. Really didn't think we were going to see Finn Russell. Very wild card, you know, the issues he's had with coaches in the past. Gregor Townsend in the team as well. Finn Russell with his own issues with Gregor Townsend. Didn't know where that would get in. There's been big calls about whether Gatland still holds a bit of a grudge with the whole Ireland team thing. Maybe that's why Sexton doesn't get in. To be honest, I think it sort of fits the mould of an aggressive Lions team wanting to go forwards. This isn't going to be the defensive international team I thought they were going to go with. I think they're going to score big points. I think Gatland could even be looking to try and win all 3 games just through sheer force with this. Knowing South Africa haven't had a lot of playtime, I think it's maybe the correct call here. Finn Russell, bit of a wild player. You know, we know what he can do when he's let loose on the ball. We've just got to hope he doesn't overstep the boundary a little bit too much, but he'll keep that position, you know, competitive for Dan Biggar. Owen Farrell was also announced as a fly half choice, who I did have as a centre choice. Someone did actually comment on the last video, which is really nice. Thank you for the people that do comment about things I miss. I will always miss. They did actually do in the official announcement what position they were selecting. So Owen Farrell was picked as a fly half, and Elliot Daly was of course picked as a centre. I completely missed that. I noted down all the team names while I was having my lunch. I had my pen in one hand and a sandwich in the other. I tried to do my best. I always knew I was going to get something wrong. So Owen Farrell was also picked there. I did pick him as a centre. We sort of assumed he would go. The ability to swap between centre and fly half is a very desirable thing, and we know how good Owen Farrell is when he's on top form as well. The ability to just switch to either place is very useful. Moving on to the centres. So Owen Farrell, of course, as we just said, you know, is in there as a fly half. I had him down as a centre. Robbie Henshaw, Ringrose, George North went out with injury again after the video, before the announcement, so I was always going to get that one wrong. And finally, Chris Harris. We got 3 out of the 5 here, one of which being Farrell. This position for me was the most crazy calls, I would probably say. Bundyaki over Ringrose from the international Irish contingency. I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming. I think for, again, the mould they're going for, aggressive. I think you know what you have with Bundyaki. Playing in the 12, first receiver off a scrum, and even in rucks, just to charge to the line, make a tackle break or 2, just sort of make some ground. You know what he can do. I think for what they've gone for, he's probably a good player. I'm just surprised. He got in with the little game time. His international term in the Six Nations this year wasn't the best. I don't know how many minutes he played, but it must be in minutes, maybe singular digit minutes. Before getting that red card and having to miss the rest of the Six Nations. I really thought Ringrose probably did a lot better. Maybe they want a specific 12 in there. I don't think Jonathan Davis or Sam Johnson maybe are in as good a form as BEIRNE could be if we get to see him go. So maybe in terms of, you know, a strictly designed 12, maybe he is the correct call there. But obviously with George North out, maybe they would have had Robbie Henshaw fill in that 12 and had North at 13 if he was available to go. It's hard to know who would have got swapped out. And the big call here, Elliot Daly going in at centre. Not a full-back position, but of course he could switch to full-back if he wanted to. So maybe they've gone for the sort of malleability there to switch between different positions. Elliot Daly, I'm still not 100% on. Someone did comment that they thought I was being a bit harsh on Elliot Daly. I don't mean to be super harsh on him, and I don't ever mean disrespect to players when I say they're not having super good plays going on at the minute. But to me, his Six Nations was pretty poor. And I think Elliot Daly's a very good player, and he's held that full-back position in the England team for an awful long time. But international level has been poor this Six Nations. And I really think he's got quite lucky to get in here. Maybe he was the 37th man on that sheet after George North, but he got named very early in that team. Maybe not. I did see a game that he played recently. He actually started at 13. And he looked to have done all right in centre. Maybe the development move for Elliot Daly is going to be to slowly move into that centre channel, sort of like Northston, moving from the wing to centre, and Elliot Daly's going to move from full-back to going into centre. Maybe that'll be his move for him. I'm still not sure if I agree with this. I think if you want someone that can fill in the different positions but also cover your sort of full-back position, you know, you could have had Sean Maitland in there maybe and picked a different winger and moved into a centre there. It could have gone the way. Hugh Jones, I'm liking at the minute. You know, the 12-13 switch-up. I think he offers very similar ability in terms of picking good running lines. For me, Hugh Jones' handling isn't necessarily the best. Nick Tompkins could have gone in there as just as a dangerous centre. I don't know. There's a couple of different positions there I think maybe could have gone in for different players. Elliot Daly will be the big call. I think he'll be the one a lot of us will watch as to where that's going to be a bit of a chink in the armour. Maybe he's purely in there for some of the warm-up games to save other players. You don't want Robbie Henshaw in there. Maybe you put on a BEIRNE in Elliot Daly. 12-13 combo. You keep your Robbie Henshaw and your Chris Harris safe for actually playing South Africa. I'm not sure what they'll go for there. So what did I get out of that? 1, 2, 3, 4... Nope, that's a lie. So 3 out of the 5 correct there, but one of them being Owen Farrell, so maybe not. And finally, on to the back 3, the position we did best in here. I picked Hogg, Liam Williams, REES-ZAMMIT, DUHAN van der Merwe, and Josh Adams. If Keith Earls couldn't go, I thought maybe Keith Earls would take the Josh Adams position, but I thought Gatland would go for Josh Adams, which we got all 5 correct, plus the additional Anthony Watson. That 37th man throwing me off. I wasn't ready for an extra name. A lot of people thought Anthony Watson would get in. I didn't think he would get in ahead of anyone else on that list. I really thought he would consistently pick that Josh Adams, Liam Williams, REES-ZAMMIT, Welsh trio in the back 3. I thought that would go in. A couple of people said they would pick Anthony Watson over REES-ZAMMIT, which I think would be the only way you'd ever swap him in. I think REES-ZAMMIT offers the same thing as Anthony Watson. I don't see why you'd remove DUHAN van der Merwe for Anthony Watson when REES-ZAMMIT is pretty identical in sort of ability of player. I thought DUHAN van der Merwe would make it, and a couple of people really disagreed with me. Didn't think DUHAN van der Merwe would make it. I think the size and sort of attacking prowess he has, it's just going to be that defensive ability. Will he be able to hold up against some of those South African players? Cheslin Colby, Mapimpi is big. Nkosi is also big on the step. I think he needs to work on that defensive game, but I think he's a sound pick. And Josh Adams, I don't think a lot of people saw going, but I did sort of think it would go down there. So 5 out of 5 there, or 5 out of 6 with Anthony Watson. Difficult to sort of round up. So across the board, we actually got 23 out of 37. Is that good? I don't know. Is that bad? There were some difficult picks in here, to be honest. This was not the team anyone expected. They've obviously gone for a very different angle. Maybe this will work well. This is obviously not a team that South Africa will be expecting to play. They do have a month to get ready for it, so maybe the experimental team won't be the way it goes. But how many did you guys pick? I don't know if anyone kept any notes or put down in the comments in the previous video how many you actually got. But if you did, make sure to drop down how many you actually picked correctly. 23 out of 37. I don't even know what that is in percentage. Is that about 60%? Very off the top of my head. 18 is about 50%. Oh, maybe we did better. Maybe somewhere between 60 and 70%. I didn't actually write that down. Probably should have done quick maths. I'll probably add it on the screen somewhere, what percentage I actually got. It's going to be an interesting tour. Really, really looking forward to see how they get on. Hopefully there's going to be some good wins for the Lions in here. Hopefully Warren Gatland has picked correctly here and is able to have a real good Lions tour. I am going to be doing the coverage, of course, over the Lions games. I will be trying to do some coverage of some other rugby stuff. I love sitting down talking about the rugby. There just isn't a lot for me to talk about. I don't have a lot of spare time to watch the club games, unfortunately. There has been some announcements around international autumn nations or autumn caps going on. I don't even know what they're called. Autumn internationals. I said too many words. I said too many words in one go. Autumn internationals. The Wales team did get announced, so I might do some coverage of that if that's sort of what people want to watch. But if you've enjoyed this video today, guys, make sure you drop this video a like and make sure you subscribe to the channel just to keep up to date with all the videos as they come out. I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.